Go live.
Yeah.
Yep.
Almost.
Call live.
Tell Ria to share the link. This up? Go live? This up? Okay. Yeah. Hi guys. So thank you so much. It's my honor to introduce my friend, singer, songwriter, indie artist, and my brother Krishna from Australia. You can start.
Hi everyone, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. It's so cool to see all of you. I'd really like to thank everyone for having me here, first of all. And Varun, it's been so long since I've seen you. I miss you, brother. Thank you for this. So I'm just going to get started. So I'm here to talk about the fact that there is no right or wrong way to create music or write a song. I don't know if you know this, but Varun and I had the opportunity to be in high school together. And if there's anything he remembers about me, it's the fact that I am absolutely hideous at music theory. I promise you, I cannot tell you a single thing about music theory, but I have been writing songs for many years now on this little instrument, my ukulele. And I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how that really worked for me and how I grew up as a musician. So like many other kids in Chennai and Tamil Nadu, I was initially put into Carnatic music classes. Surely many of you have been put through that similar torture, I think. My family insisted that I had a nice voice and that I should make use of it. I left those classes immediately after because I was terrified of singing in public. My idea of a fun time in the 5th or 6th grade was definitely not singing in temples at 4 o'clock in the morning with my grandparents. So I learned none of the names of the ragams, and I remembered none of the swaras, none of the lyrics, and I pushed myself through these classes absent-mindedly. I was just anxious for the whole time, and I had no connection to music at all. So my relationship with music after that point was mainly as a consumer. As I navigated through my life and challenges, as most of you must know, I am a transgender musician. So as I was navigating life as a young queer transgender person, Halsey's music, Linkin Park's music, A.R. Rahman, G.V. Prakash, and Haris Jayaraj, all of these artists were life-saving to me. It was really shocking to me how, because of songwriting, some random artist across the world or the city would know exactly what I had experienced. They were able to encapsulate in their music my emotions, my feelings in their songs. Whether it was numbness, like I said, Linkin Park fan, or sadness, or fear, or love. It taught me that before music is some sort of rocket science or anything scary, it's always just been a way to express yourself. So when I was about 12 or 13 years old, I'd already struggled with a lot of things. And I was just a kid who wanted to find a way to express himself healthily. And that was when I wrote my first song. It's called Carbon Copies. Even Varun hasn't heard it because it's incredibly embarrassing. It's been heard only by 2 or 3 people in the world. And when I say I wrote, I use that term very loosely. Basically what I did was I grabbed my iPad and I opened that GarageBand app and I started to speak my thoughts and emotions out loud. But for whatever reason, it happened as part of a melody, just the first melody that popped into my head. So I had no structure. I had very uncommon rhymes that didn't work. I had barely any rhythm and no understanding of any concepts like key, tempo, time signature, or anything like that. But this resulted in a 2-minute song about queer love and how I yearned for the right to love openly and without fear. So as I recorded paragraph after paragraph, or something that I learned is actually called a verse, with whatever melodies my emotions came up with, I actually started to picture these other melodies. They were kind of higher and lower, and they kind of fit and complemented with the melody I had just recorded. It took me many years to understand that what I had done then was called harmony. So, to summarize, my first song was born on the spot with improvised lyrics, improvised melody, no vision of instruments whatsoever. with only ideas of voice and how to use the voice, no knowledge of chords, melodies, or song structures. I think the words came from, just like the rest of us, I'm sure all of us in middle school have dabbled with poetry analysis that we did not want to do. And, everything that we've learned in basic English classes, fiction writing, that turned into a way for me to externalize my needs as a child for safety and for freedom and for comfort. So after recording that rough, structureless song filled with way too many harmonies, I grew curious to see how any instrument would sound with it. I considered the piano, and Varun is a fantastic pianist, but it's too overwhelming. There's too many keys, so many keys that I can't even fit it in my hands, and there were no markings on what to play. And you have to learn how to read notes, apparently. So I wouldn't have lasted a day in Western piano classes, and I felt that the guitar was too mainstream. And while my name is Krishna, I definitely can't play the flute. So a few months later, I purchased my very first ukulele. And it was a tiny blue thing for about 2,000 rupees made of plastic. And after I'd watched several YouTube videos at the time of people covering Shape of You by Ed Sheeran, which was all the rage, I decided that I would try that instrument out with that song. So I Googled the random chord shapes. I taught myself those 4 basic chords through Ed Sheeran songs. And it was at this point that I started to understand the music I had already been making, the techniques that I was using. They all had names and roles, and it opened up this huge avenue of songwriting to explore. So as the years went by, my songwriting process started to evolve. It went from nothingness to something, but still with no professional or theoretical guidance. I started some songs off with just a word, any simple word that a loved one had said, or that had just popped into my mind, or that I had read in a book. A single note, or a sort of chord sound that I could hear in my head, or a story or a poem that I'd written just to cope with life happening around me. So I would write and record these songs in anywhere between 10 minutes to 3 hours, but I had a different songwriting process each time. And for someone that was understanding that I was learning an art form by myself, it was really intimidating because I had no guidance. So many years later, I purchased my first recording equipment, actually with the help of Varun. I don't know if he remembers. It was a sound card, a condenser mic. I downloaded Logic, the DAW, for the first time, and I bought these really sick Audio-Technica studio headphones, the ones with 2 wires. And I would spend hours and hours and hours into the night just recording licks and chords on my ukulele, struggling each time to adhere to tempo and to understand what any of the buttons on the software meant. It was just Latin to me. I just wanted to put my words and tunes out there. So I met incredible musicians and songwriters, and I learned how different their processes were. And I learned so many things from them. In fact, I continue to ask these musicians every day. Macha, like, I just wrote something. Can you please tell me what these chords are, or what key this is, or what time signature it's in? Because I don't know, but I've just written it. That's how I would gain any sort of musical clarity on what I had written. But till today, I continue to write in whatever structure. I blend whatever genres and do whatever musical stylings that I please. Because there is no right or wrong way to create music or write a song. Music theory is great, but it's definitely not something mandatory. I ended up studying AS and A-level music in school, with Varun as my classmate, without being able to sight read successfully, even though I was taught several times. Unable to remember what notes are in a staff line. I can still not tell you how many sharps or flats or in keys or whatever. But I have written over 40 songs, and I have released 7 of them out into the world on streaming platforms. And I've also had the incredible opportunity. Oh my God, thanks. I did not expect that. I had the incredible opportunity to sing and write lyrics for Gautam Vaste Menon films, a couple of them. And it was all because people around me put their faith in me and whatever creative notions I had. And it was because I found out that music, however weird or different it works for me, is how I express myself best. This all goes to say that every songwriter's process is completely individualized. It's very important to be able to follow your own intuition and instinct when it comes to writing. Not just lyrics and melody, also just a sort of musical line. I believe that chords and progressions and production and lyrics and melody will follow whatever direction you take, as long as it comes from a place of authenticity or something that you resonate with in any magnitude. It could be a fun night you had with your friends or your family. It could be about your relationship with yourself. It could be about a trip to the grocery store, which I have written about. Or it could be, your typical state-of-the-art love song. But even when I had that awesome opportunity to work on Aval Parandu Ponale and Darling from the Netflix anthology Navarasa, I was able to implement my style of writing and my process of writing and approaching harmonies while I was singing the backups in complete collaborations with the musical and film greats that I was lucky enough to work with. I was given a super catchy, punchy melody, like and I got to hear about the plot of the film from Sir himself. And with those short melodic phrases, I was supposed to share emotional elements of a complicated love story, including the location that it happened, the profession of, Surya being a musician, heartbreak, and other nuances of the film. So I sent them several versions in WhatsApp, just under an hour, developing the lyrics that they liked and, changing the lyrics that they didn't like. We got to work in synergy, which was really mind-blowing for me. And the consistent feedback and transparency of what their lyrical needs were super helpful. Because as we all know, there's many different ways to tell a single story. And lyric writing is just one that involves picking the right words that are appropriate for any given melody. It doesn't mean your words have to rhyme like, day, say, play, or something simple. I've included words like pollinating and ecosystem in a song that I've released called Ruby. Anything you want to say can be said if you're able to let loose and play with the phrasing and experiment with how any word can sit in several different ways within a single given melody. I've noticed that when I wrote for the song Darling, also from Navarasa, I focused less on wordplay and more to complement the scene that was taking place in front of me on the screen. It was my job to express the chemistry of the actors, the visuals, the colors, the storyline, and the melodic composition that had been presented to me, but in words. So I got to write that fun, emotional English hook for Aval Parandu Ponale and all of the English lyrics in Darling. And in the film's background music, I even got to write and sing English lyrics for this short, upbeat, exciting, and really mood-setting rap. And with each of these songs, I explored different writing techniques and played around with different phrasing. So all this goes to say that everything in songwriting and creating music is yours for the taking, so long as you're able to follow your intuition in terms of what is likely to work best to adhere to your vision and what isn't. We hear several things about how music should work. I'm sure many of you have heard major chords are happy and minor chords are sad. And these little things are supposed to be the chirpiest, happiest instruments you've ever heard, and pianos are meant for emotional ballads. But every sad song I've written, and there's many, has been on the ukulele. And in whatever key or melody that my feelings and thoughts and words took me to. I write songs with no particular vision for their production because I struggle with writing from the consumer's point of view. I've ended up mostly writing for myself or for a scene or to feel connected with the people around me. So for me, the goal is when someone is listening to my music from wherever it is, Spotify, YouTube, I just want them to feel like I'm in a room sitting with them and we're drinking, one chai or one coffee or something. I'm just crashing on their couch, playing my ukulele for them. And it's just, sharing a part of myself with a new friend from something that comes from somewhere real. For me, it's just that simple. And there are times where I've also written, violin melodies and all, melodic counter melodies, so many intricate harmonies. I've even written lyrics in French. I do not speak French. But that's also an equally real part of my process as well. There's no song too big or small, and there's no production style that's good or not. Well, that being said, one such song I wrote is called Dragon. And it was my first song to cross 100,000 streams on streaming platforms. It was Thank you. It was produced with just this ukulele, my voice, and a bass line that I played on my laptop's QWERTY keyboard. Like, I didn't have a MIDI or anything fancy. But yeah, so you will hear the effect of those traumatizing Carnatic classes that I grudgingly went to, and a retelling of my experiences with my mental health. Because I wrote the song while I was recovering from a panic attack, like immediately as it happened, just hoping to express myself and to feel a little more safe. I just wanted to experience feeling as light as a cloud, and that's what this song is about. I still don't know the names of the chords I play for it, by the way, but I know its sound, sort of, and I was thinking I'll play it for you guys. I'm gonna check if you can hear the uke now. Is that audible? Butter?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So here's how it goes. It's getting harder to breathe. I wish I had longer to sleep. Finding it harder to sleep. Can't keep pushing onward, but I can't leave. Don't believe in fantasies, but I wish I were a dragon made of clouds. Don't believe in fantasies, but I wish I were a dragon made of clouds. The road seems to get longer beneath my feet. Wish I could walk faster, it feels like I'll never reach. I hear all this thunder and I freeze. Wish I could feel the calm of an evening breeze. Don't believe in fantasies, but I wish I were a dragon made of clouds. Don't believe in fantasies, but I wish I were a dragon made of clouds. Oh my god, there's flashlights. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So can we open up for questions, or do you have anything else you want to go ahead with? So, is there anything else you want to go ahead with, or do you want to go open up for questions?
You're asking me? Oh, I'm down for anything.
Okay. Guys, so questions. I hope some of you have put it up on Discord. Just quickly put it up and we'll start having questions open up. There's a question for speaker 1, guest lecture 1. Yeah. Sahil, just check the guest lecture 1 channel and start calling people out for the questions. Yeah. So you guys can ask anything. So whatever help or like whatever kind of tips you guys want, because the next 48 hours you guys are going to be working on your own originals. So yeah. Also, if you have any feedback, just share it off. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I'll have to open up Discord. Yeah, that's what I was just having on Discord. Yeah. This beautiful Discord thing. Also, Krishna, if you have any kind of feedback, because it's like, remember the IFP challenge, the film project challenge, something like this. So they're gonna do like pledged 48-hour song, like mixing, mastering, production, vocal recording, everything within the 48 hours. So like, if you have anything from the experience and stuff that you want to share, right, just like share it off. I'll get the questions and all ready. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one thing that I'll definitely want to say is, because I've worked on projects that had like a really short timeline, is while experimenting and everything is really important, you do have to set your times right. Especially if you're working with a team, that synergy and communication really needs to be there in terms of very simple things. What is the song about? Or even if it's just an instrumental, what is the theme that it holds? What are the musical connotations it has? All of that is something that you as a team need to be very uniform when you're deciding. And once that's happened, I think things will kind of flow on their own, especially if you're like, again, just letting loose, letting it open, keeping in mind the time, constrictions that you have. So if there's a really extravagant idea that you want to work on, I would suggest maybe, narrowing it down to something a little bit more achievable for the time constraint, because it's still going to be amazing. It's still going to be a way for you to learn so much and experience so much. And it's also going to be able to like motivate you to make better decisions and make decisions effectively in terms of your songwriting and production.
Okay, cool. So we'll just let the questions come in. We have about 4 or 5 questions that have come in. I'll just let a few more come in so we can go one shot. In the meantime, can you like perform something that you got to write for Gautam Vasudev Menon? Like, because your lyric structures that you had sort of done for your own music is very different from what you did for like Gautam Vasudev Menon. So like, could you just sort of perform something and talk about how it's different in that aspect? Yeah.
That is true. The thing is, I actually don't know the backings to any of those.
Freestyle.
Freestyler. Okay. So, how many of you have heard the songs from Navarasa? Because then I was thinking I could just maybe sing it a cappella and explain.
Okay, so we have a few. We have a few people. Just very few. Like, we have 3-4 people. Yeah. But yeah, just sing the English part at least for Aval Pandaponal, something just to give an idea.
Oh yeah, sure. So I think even when I was talking earlier, I kind of explained the short melodies that Karthik sir had given me. So it was so within that, I had to encapsulate the whole story. So she and I together thought it was forever. How the sparks flew, they flew. No longer my lover, sang at London Tower, find my own groove, things like that. So it was very limited words to be used to tell a really large story. But if you look at even Dragon, the song that I just played for you, I use words very free-flowingly because I'm not trying to complement any sort of visual scene. I'm not trying to fit in as a hook for a larger song. I'm just trying to go free flow with my own structures. But in that song, Aval Parandu Ponale, that segment was just one of the very, crucial and small segments of that song. So the lyrics really had to be, you couldn't be free flowing with it. You couldn't have your own sort of melodic changes to it. It was just, you were given that meter, you were given that phrasing, and you implement words into it just to be able to tell the story in a way that fits the vibe, because the vibe of that scene was like a very like rock show kind of vibe. So you want something that's going to be able to go with that, and you want words that are going to be able to go with that. So
cool. Okay, thank you. So we'll start with I think the questions. Yeah, so we have an Aravind Ganesh. Yeah, okay. Okay. Actually, you know what? Okay. So Arvind Ganesh is asking, how did you come up with lyric ideas as soon as a scene has been described to you, or do you have a feeling in mind?
That's actually an awesome question. So I think in terms of when a scene had been described to me, it was because I had the ability to, like I mentioned earlier, communication. I had the ability to look at sir and be like, so do you want it to be talking about this particular emotion, or do you want it to be talking about this particular place? Do you want the character to seem more arrogant in their lyrics, or do you want them to seem more loving? Is it nostalgia? So you pick and choose the themes that have been presented to you, and then you start to write based off of that, because you're trying to go as close to your lyrical requirements as possible in order to really complement the visual and the overall song. But in terms of my own writing, it just comes from again listening to a lot of music, and you see how people approach themes. You see how, especially like I mentioned earlier, just your middle school writing classes, you learn about metaphors and things like that. Even in the song Dragon, I talked about, I wish I were a dragon made of clouds. I don't physically want to be a cloud, but I'm talking about, the lightness and the airiness and the powerfulness of a dragon that was made of clouds, which is, again, so it's not realistic writing, but it is writing that encapsulates what I feel as and when I feel it. And I think that's really how I went about that.
Yeah, cool. Okay, next is Rohi. So they ask, what do you do in times when you feel stuck with the lyrics or the melody in the middle of composing?
Oh yeah, that's a very good one. So I do a couple of things. First of all, I take a break. I will listen to some music. I will sing something else. I will just take a walk. Just relax for a second. Remove that element of pressure, because when you're feeling stuck and you're just losing that inspiration, it just really means you need to take a step back and give yourself a second to breathe. And when you look around and you look around in the world, somehow from somewhere that kind of flow will come back. There's been one time where I went to the beach and just looking at that, scene, I was able to get back into the writing immediately because I had to submit for an exam and things like that. So give yourself some time, give yourself some inspiration, and don't beat yourself up if it doesn't happen. You're not a machine.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is from Shashank. What do you think before you start one? Like, are you specific or just random?
Before I start writing a song, like any song?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Absolutely random, completely random. Like I said, I've written a song about going to the grocery store. The entire premise of the song was that I forgot to buy blueberries. So it's really, there's no specific inspiration that you need to have or anything like that. You can write about anything that's on your mind. It could be anything big or small. It could be a bird. It could be a plane, literally. So yeah, no, definitely random. And then I see what happens as inspiration strikes and then take it away from there.
Right. Perfect. So the next question is, do you prefer composing and giving tunes to lyrics or making melody first and then writing lyrics to the melody? And which do you find is easier?
That's an awesome question. So for me, as I've talked about before, it has a different process each time. There have been times where I've started with one melody and then had to put lyrics onto that from there. Times where it's vice versa, a lyric first and then a melody from there. Times where it's a chord first and then melody and then lyric. And it just goes really, really jumbled. But I think for me personally, the easiest has been recently to write first. And once I'm writing, I end up giving myself this, subconscious rhyme scheme and a subconscious structure of, either verse, pre-chorus, chorus, things like that. So once I've given myself that outline, I end up being able to formulate melodies more easily. But that's just how it's panned out for me. It could pan out differently for anyone.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, another question. This one. Yeah, okay. So another question is it a must for lyricists to have knowledge of musical instruments?
That's a really nice question. I would honestly say, well, you don't need to know everything. You don't need to know how it precisely works and stuff. But when I'm writing lyrics, I definitely take into consideration what instruments are happening, what the, typical dynamics and limitations or, expanded opportunities that instrument poses, what emotions that instrument connotes. And based on that, I will change my words. So definitely, there's even just one same melody, but there's a different instrument being used to translate it. There is 100% chance I change my lyrics in order to adhere to what emotion that instrument is giving out and what vibe it adds to the song.
Okay, cool. So the next question is from Avanti. So the question is, have you ever thought to make a song in your own language than doing in English?
Oh yeah, I have written songs in Tamil before. Actually, some of my most emotional songs are in Tamil. They're just really sad, so I haven't felt, the strength to share them because I am the most connected with Tamil. I've even written a song in the 3 languages that I speak, English, Hindi, and Tamil. So yeah, most definitely, I do lean towards Tamil. I just think that because we've all been kind of put in the English medium spaces, it was really easy for me to be confident enough to share the English ones in public first. But I'm definitely working on,
Yeah, okay. So guys, we'll be closing the questions. Is there anyone else that has any other questions? Make sure you put it up on Discord. Yeah, if not, is there anything else you guys like to ask or mention, or is there anything you want to mention, Krishna?
No, I honestly just want to say like all the best, and I hope everyone has fun with this. And thank you for having me here. Honestly, yeah, it's you guys have been amazing.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Then can we have a round of applause? Oh, okay. Okay, wait. So we have one actually really interesting question that just came up. What was the first song that motivated you? You that has brought you till here?
That's a lovely question. I mentioned Halsey earlier. There's a song that they wrote called Control. It's not one of their, majorly popular songs, but it was definitely the song that showed me that music, it's possible for music to connect people from literally across the world with no relation to each other, having the exact same emotions, and for you to be able to give that to someone else who's listening to you. That was really the kicker, and I think about that song every time I write a song as well. It's just always there.
Yeah. All right then. I think that's all the questions we've got. Bro, thank you so much for for coming and helping us with out and everything. I hope that was really helpful for everyone here. Can you just have one last round of applause for Krishna? Yeah. And for everyone here, you guys can check out his music on Spotify, Apple Music, Instagram, anywhere essentially. Just search krishna.k and you'll find his music up there. When you get the time, listen to it. It's actually very different to say the least. Yeah, I think with that we session for today, which will allow you guys to actually just get on and start with your music after we have one more thing that we have planned for you guys. So Machan, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Big shout out
thank
and
you so
thank
much.
you for coming.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.